Core Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Thank you for checking out the Glass Clown podcast. I am your host, Patrick Christopher. Thank you very much for listening. I do appreciate it. Again, just a reminder, like, subscribe on whichever platform you use to listen or to watch the podcast. That would help out very much, you know. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at yourhomiepat. Any questions, comments, anything like that, you can send to yourhomiepat@gmail.com. If you follow or subscribe to the YouTube page, you'll see that I posted a 8-minute clip of the showcase that I did. I did an 8-minute guest spot on the Revolver Comedy showcase. It just came out good. The sound quality was good. I recorded that on my watch. The Active 2 Galaxy Watch, whatever that is. And the crowd was on fire, man. I was doing pretty good. I felt pretty good about that. But just because the sound quality just came out so well, I was like, man, I want to post this. And plus, I'm a narcissist and need validation. And yeah. So you can find that on the YouTube page. I posted that a couple days ago on the Barbacoa Core YouTube page. All the information you can find at barbacoacore.com. And yeah, any show dates or any show information will be on my Instagram or Twitter at yourhomiepat. Today, my guest is my homie Justin Bires. Great conversation. I always like talking to this guy. He's a funny kid. He's funny now. So just imagine what he's going to be like in a few years, He's going to be a killer for sure. Looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, great conversation. Hopefully you enjoy this. Again, thank you for supporting the Glass Clown podcast on the Barbacoa Core Podcast Network. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But that's it for the intro. Let's get into the conversation with my homie Justin Bires. Yeah, you're in the process of moving. You're moving to Austin. You're going to be an Austin comic soon. How are you feeling with that?
It doesn't necessarily feel good right now.
Yeah.
Because in a weird way, I feel like I just caught my rhythm as like, oh, I'm respected in the city. And not so much even respected. It's just like people know me.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think me and you are kind of in a similar boat as like comedic level where it's like when people are like, okay, who's a solid comedian that maybe not necessarily you're like, oh man, showstopper, but you're definitely not a weak spot in any lineup. Where in Austin, right, is competitive.
Yeah.
And there's no secret. Like Joe, all these big names are kind of coming up there, and a flood of people are going, including me. And you're sitting there, and people think that you came for like an ambition and a goal. And I'm like, dude, my girl moved here. I'm just here doing comedy. I'm trying to get my reps, and I'm trying to get like okay spots.
So you weren't ready to move to Austin. You didn't move to Austin because you were like, okay, comedy, here I come. Austin comedy scene, here I fucking come.
It was an incentive. Like when we're like, okay. And she's like, well, I got this offer in Austin. I was like, well, Austin is one of the few cities in Texas that I say isn't like a step down. Cause we're looking at like El Paso's. We're looking at like Laredo's, Corpus's. And it's like, you get a gut. You're like, oh man, I want to do comedy. This is something that I care about.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to take a back step. and even if it's like a big fish in a little pond, like,
yeah.
right, I like the challenge, but now that I'm there, it's like, you know, it's a big step. It's like daunting.
Yeah.
So,
But you hear about like comics like that start out in New York or start out in LA. Like you already have like a running start type of thing. You've been
Yeah.
there for 3 years?
yeah.
3 years, and now you're moving to Austin, and it's gonna be intense. It's gonna feel intense and stuff, but you have like so much road ahead of you. You know,
Yeah.
like here's the thing. I think people compare themselves to like the comics that they like, and they want to obtain that, but they don't realize like those comics that they like have been doing it for a long time. They started out, not top dog like they are now.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to like be like, I want shows and I want, all this stuff. But you gotta start slow, man. You gotta crawl before you fucking
Yeah.
get all those big name shows and all that stuff. But I think it's cool, man. I'm a little bit jealous. I don't know if I would move to Austin, but I do want to check out the Austin scene a little bit more.
Well, what's nice is I got a place that I have no community, so I have no friends yet. So come on over. I feel like I'm like I feel like I'm a little. Is it Harriet Tubman that was like bringing slaves like across the border? That's how I kind of feel like because Zach, Joey, Potter, like my friends are coming in, so I'm like going to Mike's and I'm like, oh, by the way, can I take some buddies over? So I feel like I'm bringing like people to some fun mics.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, now I'm still very attached to the San Antonio community. That's the one thing. Even more than like the opportunity is like I don't know anybody yet.
Yeah.
And that like that social aspect I think is more intimidating than being a feature.
How long did it take you to get comfortable with San Antonio comics, San Antonio scene?
If I'm being honest, about a year.
Yeah. No, for me too, man. I didn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
For the first 6 months, a year. So it's gonna be like that, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't like that. Some people could just jump in and be in people's faces and stuff.
I'm the dude that how you ever have like 4 people in a circle and then you kind of come in and like eventually you can like kind of like say something in there. I'm the guy. It takes me a year to be like, yo, what's good?
Yeah.
So
that's tough, man. I mean, that's just a personality trait, but I respect it, dude. I mean, like it's not easy to be that person and then also want to be in the network circles, in like, in the loop, in the at the cool kids table.
Yeah.
But if it's not who you are, don't fake it because
you can smell that, right?
Yeah, it's not gonna be. You got to be true to yourself, and I don't like when I feel people are faking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough one too because it's like they're like, man, I have to like overexert myself to like get in.
Yeah.
So yeah, just the social aspect is hard. Like I think people who are like naturally like able to like glue themselves to either a conversation or a person where they're like, man, they got like a sticky factor where it's like I kind of want to have another conversation with them. That's such a gift.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, there's a lot of those people I hate a lot.
Yeah, for sure. It's just too exhausting. It's exhausting if it's not your characteristic. If it's not who you are, legit, it's exhausting to put up that act.
Yeah, and to be fair, we're probably similar. We're day to day. Like there's days where I'm just like, I'll swing with anybody, right? Like, but then like the next day I'm there. I'm just like, oh, dude, that was Tuesday, Justin.
No, I get that.
You got
dude.
Thursday, Thursday, Justin wants to hit mics and go home.
I get that, dude. I get that. What is that? Is that social anxiety, or is that because like you're doing your own shit, like you're going through your own shit, separate from that, and then you got to go and do the comedy mics? You know what I mean?
Yeah, to me, it's almost like it's like extra work where it's like I have so much I'm thinking about. I'm trying to write new jokes, some new tags, I'm trying to remember my set. I'm watching everyone else kind of go through the exact same thing. And if someone, that's what's nice about a post mic where it's like, oh, you did our, like, especially if someone does good and then you also do good, you can kind of go up there and you're just like, okay, see, we just had a common experience here.
Yeah.
Like, I think a similarity trait of like a shared experience is like the best way to like to gravitate towards someone.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing worse than when you do good or like you do bad and someone else had the opposite experience. You're like, I don't even want you to look at me.
Yeah.
I feel like I just peed the bed and you know it.
Yeah. I've been doing this thing too where I'll go to a mic just to hang out. Like I won't sign in, I won't sign up, I won't go up, and I go just to hang out because sometimes that's all I want.
Yeah.
There's no stress in that. I get to enjoy talking to people. I get to enjoy watching them work on stuff. And then most of these mics, I mean, the crowd's not into it. They don't really care. And I was like, do I really want to sign up, wait around, and go fucking eat a bag of dicks in front of all my friends?
Yeah.
Or do I just want to go hang out and watch them eat bags of dicks?
I'm sure. I'm sure that's so. You know what? That might be something I need to get into.
Yeah, man.
Is just watch people eat dicks.
Yeah, because you're just going, you're just like, it's not that bad. It's not that, like, they feel bad, but you're watching, they're like, no, man, you're just working shit out. Yeah. It's an unfair situation, you know? There's nobody paying attention. The bar's way too loud. And you're going up there, and I'm sorry you're going to it, but it was good to see you.
It was enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it's also not as bad as they think it is, too.
No, it's never as bad as we think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels bad because you're just like, I'm going to quit comedy.
Yeah.
I need to stop doing this. Why am I doing this with my life? You know? But because I do like the hangout session. A lot of people think I'm an asshole because I won't start hanging out until after I'm done doing the stage, being on stage.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm in my head about this shit. Even if it is just a mic, if it's not a show, if it's just a mic, I'm still in my head about it, you know? I don't want to be too comfortable. I don't want to be like, oh, we're just knocking about, you know, drinking, doing whatever. I'm just like, no, let me focus.
I think that might be early, Pat. You're kind of like thinking about, because last night you were having a good time. You're talking, you're chatting. I literally brought you up. I'm like, hey, we're in like 3 comics.
Yeah.
So,
but I didn't do that good. I didn't feel good about my set. But also there wasn't. I mean, the crowd was weird.
Yeah. It was definitely like it was the mic to chill out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I sent you the 3 questions. Oh, before we get into it, man, I'm sorry. Plugs, Instagram, anything you got coming up? Let them know how to find you, what to watch out for.
So everything I got is pretty much my name based. Justin Bires, Instagram, Justin Bires, Facebook, Twitter, Justin O Bires. And then what's on the horizon is a podcast I'm doing with my buddy Lucas Wendland. It's called Loose Handles. It's a comedy sports themed podcast. And right now that's my baby. That's what I've been thinking about for like the last couple months.
Yeah.
And we got a template, we got a design, we got kind of a, it sounds so lame to say it like this, but like a go-to-market like strategy of
no,
like
man, it doesn't sound lame at all. I'm glad that you have like that you're planning it out. That's fucking great. Loose handles, break that down for me because I don't really understand what that means.
So it's a basketball reference, right? So like
okay.
A tight handle means like you can't take the ball from them, and so in a weird like long jump way, right? A tight handle is like, man, that's a good take, or like that's like this guy's got his shit together.
Yeah.
Loose handles, it's almost like it's gonna be a hot take, fun podcast. So it's gonna be loose, it's gonna be sloppy.
Yeah.
But like that's kind of the premise of it, right?
Yeah.
Is that these are loud, fun, hilarious takes that are kind of under the umbrella of sports.
That's dope, man. Loose handles. I like that.
Yeah.
But good for you, man. Like, no, plan it out. You know, make a strategy, make a format. You know, all that stuff. Like everybody starts podcasting, and just like, yeah, we're just gonna record and just talk and do our stuff. But why? Why is it? You know? Yeah,
it is definitely, and that's what I was like. Yeah, let's just wing it. And I have a buddy who thankfully is not like a he doesn't have the I got to push content like bug as much as me.
Yeah.
He's not in comedy. He's not. He's from a completely different world, and he's like, you know what? I'd rather take my time, make something quality that we can kind of run with once we have everything together.
Yeah.
And now that I kind of taken a step back and have kind of like got some of the eager beaver out of me, I was like, dude, this makes sense.
Yeah.
It does, because now we have once you get the format, then it's repeatable. Where instead of like winging it, oh, we'll figure it out as we go along, and there are just going to be that. Yeah, you get the formula beforehand, right? It's almost like, imagine if like you make a soda and you're trying to make Coke and you just keep putting out, you're like, eventually this is gonna get good, but people are gonna stop drinking it.
Dog, yeah, for sure.
They're like,
I know,
dude,
yeah.
why do you keep selling us fucking soap?
Yeah, I don't trust anything you put out there. It's not Coke. It doesn't taste like Coke.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. Good luck with all that. When are you gonna start recording that one?
The goal is in the next month or so.
Oh, okay.
What I
cool.
can say confidently is before football season, is whenever we're gonna be putting stuff out there.
Nice, man. So I sent you the 3 questions. Did I send you the 3 questions?
Well, I'm excited to hear them, but
Damn, man. I always like to give the guests like time to think about what they want. Fuck. Now I feel like shit now.
That's all right.
So anyway,
I've listened to the podcast, so they're gonna jog my mind.
Okay. 3 questions. You could answer them in any order. How do you feel about talking about your feelings? Are you about that life, or do you keep things to yourself?
Yeah, for the most part,
Yeah.
I'm pretty in my personal life. I wear everything in my sleeve, like to some degree. Like in sales, like if I lose a sale, I'm upset. Like if I'm mad, I'm upset. But there are aspects of my life, like in front of certain people, that I'm like, yo, I keep this one close to the chest because I don't know you enough to like be like, just be 100% myself.
Yeah.
But like we're friends. Like I'll talk to my friends about deep stuff. But yeah, it's a delicate balance when it comes to like expressing yourself.
Yeah. When you were raised, like how did your family embrace, like feeling your feelings, talking about your feelings, or did you feel stress, or did you feel like that you had to keep that to yourself?
I'm from a very eccentric family, like bar none. I just met somebody in Austin that was like, hey man, I knew your brother and your family, dude. Y'all were weird people.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, what were we? And he was like, yeah, man, like y'all were so strange. Y'all were funny and like just very goofy. And we all got good laughs like from y'all, but like, man, y'all were like aliens.
What?
And I was like, damn. But for me,
And he was like a neighborhood kid? Like how did he know your family?
Through Boy Scouts.
Oh, okay.
I was a Boy Scout for a month before my brother got us kicked out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so like this, like, uptight, like probably became like an Eagle Scout, like that perfect kid family dynamic next to our family. I get that. I was quiet in the home for the most part because everything was so loud that like I kind of like, that was, I guess, my sense of rebellion is like, I'm keeping everything inside. But in school, I was a menace, right? Like I was the funny kid. I was loud. I was talkative, always in trouble. And then in home, I was polar opposite. I was the good kid. I was quiet. I didn't say much. I didn't talk because my brother was such a hard reflection of like everything I didn't want to be.
Damn.
And my parents were like also like pretty like, man. I was like, I don't have much positive things to say or get, so I'm gonna just kind of keep it to myself.
Wow. Damn, dude. That's a lot of stress, man. Like, so you felt because your brother was the way he was that you couldn't be like, I need to talk about stuff,
Yeah. It definitely scared. I always wanted to seem like I was tight, like I was right. And I was like, no,
that's a huge stress. Is that a male thing, or is that just like a personal, like, regardless of male, female, whatever, you as a person just wanted to feel or like come off as I got everything's fine. I got everything together.
I didn't want to stress anybody out, because homeboy was in my brother. Homeboy was in prison. He was always in trouble. Like my parents, I remember they were wound up, and I was like, dude, if I cannot even exist like in their like mindset, except for like he's doing good, that was a win.
Damn, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure, man. So were you not really close to your parents?
No, we're close. But definitely closer back then. Like, but it was like so when my brother got locked up, it was nice actually in a weird fucked up way because I got to experience that like only child vibe,
Oh
which
yeah.
I really enjoyed.
What age was that? What age were you when you were the only child vibe?
Maybe 14 to 18.
Mm.
14 to 18 or so.
See, that's weird. Because that's around the age where you don't want to be around your parents. That's
Well,
the kind of age where like you kind of like separate yourself from the parents.
They own their own business, and so I was an employee. So I kind of in a weird way I felt valued.
Nice,
because I was like, but I've always had a weird like employee sense of like my parents. I have this joke I used to say. I was like, man, fuck living with your managers.
Yeah,
that's not that far from the truth.
Yeah.
So it's like I respect them, I like them, but also if I get away from them, like, oh man, what a dream.
Yeah. Damn. So the 3 questions that I have are, what is something that you're afraid of? Like, what's something that, fear, anxiety, what is something that you deal with that? What is something that you worry about? What causes you stress? And what's something that you don't like about yourself? Like any type of moments, self-loathing. And these could be from any time, whether it's something that you went through before or something that you're going through currently, whether it's like what you feared before, what you worried about before, or present, however you want to talk about it, and then like maybe like how do you use your sense of humor to kind of deal with all those things separately, together, all that stuff. And they could all be because it's under the same umbrella, the fear, the worry, and the self-loathing could all be the same thing.
Yeah, they are. That is an intertwined question.
Yeah, it could be separate or it could be one of the same, all the same thing.
What interests you about like this is a cool idea for a podcast, especially kind of revolved around that. What interests you in asking that stuff?
Well, especially for dudes, we gotta be men, we gotta be dudes. Nope. It's not. You're not supposed to talk about your feelings. You're not supposed to like let people know like, hey man, I'm not doing too good.
Yeah.
And that's a toxic thing, and I hate to say toxic masculinity thing, but that's something that like we need to like kind of separate from. We all go through shit. We all feel these things, and we all feel like we shouldn't feel like we need to brush it under the rug, hide it, not face it, not deal with it, put it off until it becomes too big of a problem.
Yeah.
And when you talk about stuff, whether it's stuff that you went through before or whether it's stuff you're going through currently, it takes the sting out of it. Like I've never told anybody this, and now that I say it out loud, it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Like, damn, dude, you ate grass too.
Yeah.
So hold one more time. What scares me? What worries me?
Yeah. What's something that you fear? What's something that you worry about? And what's something that you don't like about yourself?
Oh God, can I answer right now?
Yeah. This is what we're doing.
So, what I don't like about myself is my inconsistencies.
Inconsistencies of what? In what?
Well, for the most part, that I'm like, I'm hot, I'm cold, and like we were talking about earlier, like, oh man, that's Tuesday, Justin, right? Like,
yeah.
As far as like, I'll be social and outgoing, and I want attention. I'm like craving it. One day, and the next day, I just want to lay in the cut. I want to chill.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk. Like, I'll be passive. I'm happy to be the quiet person in a conversation, just kind of like an intake sport. And even in comedy, right? Like when I'm on stage, I'm like, if I'm feeling excited, I'm bringing heat. Like I think I'm funnier, like louder. I'm giving the audience more. If I'm insecure regarding anything, then it's like, oh man, they can feel that. Like, which is a bit of like I get everyone has that inconsistency. We're all a spectrum of a person. But at the same time, wearing your face on your sleeve that hard it's so apparent. You're like, man, dude, how can you be that different from day to day?
I mean, it's I get what you're talking about. You know, like as far as like sometimes you don't feel like being happy go lucky, or you don't feel like being
Yeah.
the life of the party type of stuff. You know?
But for a comedy is tough because you always got to be funny,
Yeah.
right? And so always being on, that's a big inconsistent. Like if that's something you want to be consistent on, it's
Yeah.
like you always got to be available comedically.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, man, I'm not feeling it, and it's like, dude, well, you better start getting in a rhythm or start getting comfortable, uncomfortable.
Yeah. Is that something that's new? Like the inconsistencies? Like, is there like, is it, you know, something that happened earlier on in your day that at night it still carries over? You know?
It could be like you'll have a good set, and then the next mic you'll have a bad set,
Mm-hmm.
and in the middle of the set something will flip, maybe a joke doesn't work, and the rest of the day is kind of riding that last like emotion,
Yeah.
right? Like if you do good, you're feeling confident, you feel like, oh, this is, and it doesn't even have to be that, like our mutual friend passed away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was on the day of my birthday that I got that news. So I'm feeling hot. I'm feeling good, excited. People are sending me like nice messages. And I'm in sales, right? So it's like, it's a very, talking to people oriented. Get bad news, terrible news, bomb the rest of my meetings where it's like, man, everyone's like, oh, I don't even want to talk to you. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you either.
Yeah.
And then, right, I'm just waiting for the next thing to kind of kick me out of a rut, right? Like someone have good news, someone tell a funny joke, right? Like that kind of like, I don't know. It's like I need like external pushes for my own state of being.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense, man. It totally makes sense. Like, I found out at an early age that I can't separate things. You said, like, if something bad happens in your morning, it's gonna bleed over into your lunch. It's gonna bleed over into your evening and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I can't separate stuff. When I was a kid, I used to be able to separate stuff.
That Lunchable mentality where you're just like the cheese goes over here.
Like, and that I try to do that. Like, okay, if I'm going out, then the stuff that happens at home I don't take that with me there. You know, there's some nights where I'm able to do that, but for the most part, it's just like if I feel like shit in the morning, more than likely I'm gonna feel like shit at night. You know, I can't separate stuff. You know, I remember, man, this is gonna sound weird, or it's gonna make me sound really bad, but my parents separated when I was in the 5th grade, right? Something like that.
That's a big your fault age.
And but so that was happening at home.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to school, I'm fucking happy. I'm not at home. This is school pat.
Yes.
You know? I'm in school pat mode. Nobody knows what's going on with me at home. It's fine. I could be happy now. You know, I wasn't even thinking about home. One of my classmates, her father and my father were friends. And so she says, hey, my dad said that our parents are getting divorced. I'm not going to tell nobody, but we were in line to go to lunch. And she said that to me in front of all my classmates.
I'm not going to tell anybody. Hey.
Yeah, my dad said that your parents are getting divorced, and he said that not to tell nobody. So I'm not going to tell nobody. But she said this in front of everybody, and I fucking saw red. I was like, you mixed my worlds up.
Oh,
This is school pat, not home pat, and now you brought home pat to school, and I just like because up until that point, I believed that separate scenarios, separate scenes meant, okay, I'm different now. I feel different now. I think different now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's also, I love your reaction too, because you're like, oh man, you made me home pat. You won't like home pat. And then you went the Hulk.
Yeah, and I realized like wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't. I wish I still had that. And I think if that situation never happened, I would never know that you can't separate home life, school life, night life, you know, all that stuff. Because some people could do that. When they're at work, they're a certain person.
Yeah.
When they're at the comedy club, they're a different person because they can separate their lives. With me, that's when I realized everything's going to bleed into everything. And I was so destroyed because I was just like, what? That's a different world. And now all my worlds are combined. Of course, all my worlds are combined. Like it's the same wherever I go. You know.
Well, I think that's a benefit. I think as far as being a genuine person, right? Because you meet people and you're just like, man, why you're not like this all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
you probably bring more of a consistent tone.
Yeah.
Because of like hey, this is how I am at work. I'm this my world's blended.
Yeah.
Right. So you're more of like a holistic person where it's like, oh man, this person's like Harvey Dent, where it's like, oh man, I'm off work, boom, let's party.
Yeah.
Like, well, maybe that means your job's fucked up if you're gonna be like that. But
it could. I mean, I still do that. Like I'll separate places here and there, but in the back of my mind, I was like, you're not being genuine. You didn't forget about all that stuff. So that whole thing with you, like being inconsistent with like, I feel it, I don't feel it. I'm thinking about something that doesn't matter to this situation, this scene, this moment. It's still bugging me from before, and you're carrying that over. I mean, it's hard not to do that stuff. I think sometimes we do use, going to the mics, are doing shows to kind of like separate ourselves from the real life, the real day to day that's going on. Mm-hmm. We use that as a tool to kind of like, like separate ourselves from everything else. This is my vacation from the rest of my life.
Yeah.
The 4 minutes, the 10 minutes, the whatever that I'm doing on stage.
Do you feel weird when like those like, have you had like coworkers come out and see you, or your wife, or like?
No, well, my wife, yeah, but like a lot of people from work, they don't know I do comedy and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, dude, I made the biggest mistake like right off of the rip, like because when you first start, you're excited and you're like, oh yeah, I'm good. You get your first laugh and you're just delusional in so many ways. Like you always associate like your standard with the best, like your best performance, right? Mm-hmm. Which in a weird way I still do. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, yeah, come out and see me. Like I do good and stuff. And like, yeah, I did all right. Like it wasn't like I wasn't awesome, like the greatest. But I was like, yeah, I was telling people, yeah, I do comedy. Yeah, you can check me out like anytime. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, which is weird because now I'm better, but I have the realization of I'm okay, but I know I'm going to be embarrassed of who I am and my art a year from now. I'd rather you see me a year from now.
Oh, okay.
Mentality.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And so now the opposite, where I'm like, okay, I made the mistake. I showed my hand too early. I want to make sure that like I can play the game before like inviting everybody out. That's been my mentality. I think it's really helped lately. Yeah. Because now people are like, hey, when's your next show? And like now I've been like, the people that ask me, I'll send it to them. Yeah. But only if they ask.
Yeah. So going back to the inconsistency, I don't like, you don't like that.
It is something I don't like about myself because I guess I want to like daisy chain good days. Right.
Yeah. But if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. Like you're being genuine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like inconsistency as far as like, good Justin, bad Justin. Like it's just who you are that day. It's real. You're being real with yourself, and you're being real with everybody else. Like I'm not feeling it today, man.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing. Is that a social pressure? Like you feel socially you want to be seen a certain way, or you want people to think of you as a certain way all the time?
Yeah, like, because we all have it where we're like, oh man, this is a good day. Like I'm feeling it. I'm feeling social. Like, I guess I'd like a different motor where I'm like, oh man, I'd like to consistently be a little more high energy. I'd consistently like to be more socially comfortable, like speaking with people. And I'm almost like chasing the dragon of like those moments of like, oh, I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying this conversation. I'm feeling a little more aggressive in conversation. And all those things, they start to like spike like people's enjoyment of me instead of being like a very low note kind of person. And I'm not a low guy by any means, but like I would prefer if I could just be, and I guess I've been like this with life. I wish I could be a little taller. I could, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to be like at the top, but it's like where I'm at, I just want to be a little bit better. And
but isn't that a good thing to have? Isn't that like a motivation?
It is. You know? And that's why I still go out, right? Like if I let that shit eat at me to like a crippling level, then I would have quit comedy, right? Because I'm like, man, why can't I ever be as good as like the best version of me? Instead of like, shit, I told that really well, or man, that was a really fun night. I'm chasing that.
Yeah. Do you ever think about quitting?
I mean, if I don't think you're being real if it doesn't cross your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
every day.
Not every day, but like
every time before I go on stage. I don't want to do this.
I hate this.
Yeah.
When I feel robotic and I'm just like we've done the dojo together, and that's like a weekly thing where we're like writing jokes and stuff, and like sometimes you're kind of like piggybacking on your last week topic, and if I'm not feeling creative, where I'm like, dude, it's been a full week and I haven't had one like interesting thought that I can like make funny, that shit eats at me. That
really?
Like I want to be a fountain of like constantly generating like jokes. I mean, I want quick wins and fail fast.
Yeah.
And I get married to like the stuff that I do, and I'm like, I like this. Like I want it to work. It's not working, but I want it to work. So yeah, I mean, I forgot what my premise was, but yeah, I want to like constantly keep doing stuff.
Yeah. What's something that causes you anxiety? What's something that you fear?
Which is, this one's kind of blending into like what I'm worried about. I have a big fear of kind of like becoming a lot like my brother, because me and my brother, outside of our elements, we're very similar. I just have a lot of restraint. He has no restraint. So like I'm scared.
But you're aware that it's inside you.
Yes. So like when we're happy, we're talking to each other, because I mean we're friends, right? Like me and my brother, you got to be friends with your brother to some degree, right? As much time as you spend with each other. And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, I'll have these like kind of step back moments where I'm like, damn, we're similar in like our humor and like the stuff that gets us interested and like our excitement, and like we both were fighters growing up. And then I start thinking, I was like, damn, if you didn't get in trouble first, I would have for sure gone the same path. I would have gotten in trouble.
Yeah.
So I'm scared of, in a weird way, kind of like the guilt of like, fuck, man, if I didn't have a roadmap kind of going through, I'm scared of not having a roadmap, right? Because he fucked up and I said, booby trap there, don't join a gang, right? Don't get into fighting, don't steal, because I was doing, not as hardcore, but like I was doing all those things until he got in trouble, and then I'd make hard lefts, right? I stole a lot of shit growing up. PSPs, like statute of limitations passed. But doing all that shit, when he got busted, I stopped cold turkey, all that stuff. He joined a gang. I really wanted to. I wanted to be in the same thing. Like, I'm just like that stray puppy that like is like kind of following like a little kid. And I was like, when he got in trouble, I was like, nah, I'm not doing that shit. He was in fighting. I wanted to fight. He beat up a homeless guy and robbed him. I was like, man, fight is not even that cool. So, like, I'm scared of not having a roadmap. And now that I'm in and not even a roadmap of like what to do, but what not to do. And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh man, I kind of locked myself in a box in quarantine in my own personality, because I'm scared of hey, if I just am a free person,
Yeah.
what happens? What happens? Am I gonna do drugs? Am I gonna do, because I've seen it, and
Yeah.
I know that personality through an external person.
Uh-huh.
So that freaks me out. That is sharks.
How okay, the sharks things, I get that. But like the roadmap, the need to have a roadmap.
The fear of not having something to like base decisions off of in a weird way, it's like a fear of the unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of like, man, you want to experience things. People will be like, hey man, you want to like I've done it, like, hey, you want to go to Dallas? And I was like, fuck, what am I gonna do in Dallas, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna party. Like, I got friends that were like, hey man, you want to like you want to go out and drink? And I'll ask them like, what do you think tonight's gonna be? And they're like, maybe like a 5, like getting drunk, we'll Uber home, and then we're doing shrooms at like 3 a.m. right? And I'm just
Yeah.
like, dude, where's the limit for me?
Yeah.
So I'm scared of myself because I don't know what I want to do until
Yeah.
it's like it's in front of me. So that scares me.
You're not
big
that
time.
impulsive. You're not like, in the moment type of thing. Like let's fucking get wild.
If I don't have like a little bit of like I guess I don't really have like a lot of pullback, and I'm getting better at it. Like I'm not like now the best thing that's ever happened to my life is getting sleepy at 12. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise I go all night. Like when I was younger, I wanted to go all night every day. Like that was fun, right?
Yeah.
I remember it was like I had like period in my life where I was like, the night doesn't even start until it's 12.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now that like, man, I'm tired. Like that has literally changed my whole life.
You're too fucking young to feel that old, dude. That's
No.
ridiculous.
I mean, well, like at the Tiger, I got that at 2, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I'm chilling, but like 2 years ago, it was 4.
Yeah.
Like, and so when I say 12 is exaggeration,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but on a weekday or so, and like I'm waking up at 6, like 7, like that like the boundaries are helping, right? So like having a job is a good roadmap.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know what I want to do tomorrow, and that's not be hungover at work,
Yeah.
right? So
Limitations, I guess, is a good way to put it. Like roadmap, because when you say roadmap, I'm thinking like you're thinking like your 2-year plan, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan. I thought like you were trying to roadmap like your entire life.
yeah.
You're just trying to keep yourself out of trouble.
Yeah. Maybe like a compass, right? Like,
Yeah.
come on, man. This is a strictly map-based podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome to Map with Pat.
Yeah. Do you have like life plans, like a roadmap of like a time, like okay, by 2 years and 5 years and 10 years?
I did that shit with comedy the other day. I was texting George Anthony, and I felt a little inspired. I was listening to your podcast, right? And I felt a little inspired, and I was like, I got some questions that I want to ask the guy. And I just kind of like asked him like, hey, what are things that like help you make jumps? Like I'm trying to like boost myself to another level. And he pretty much told me, it was like, well, hey, know what you want to do. What are your goals? Think about that shit. And then, and so not really his words, but like obsess about what you want to do. And I'm like, dude, I don't think about that stuff. Like,
No, I don't
really
think about that either.
I'm so like, I'm so devil in the detail. Like, I want this tag to work. I want this to work. I want to get a laugh here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, it would be nice to be like, in 5 years, I want to be a local headliner feature, right? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, this would be like my ambitious goals, and I'm okay if I don't hit them, but I want to try. Like, I want something that I can like strive for. So, yeah, I mean, that goals are something that I historically have never done that I want to get into.
Yeah.
And not like, I can't be the like year resolution guy. I've tried.
Yeah, I can't do that. Like, I used to be stoked about New Year's, like, oh, we're gonna do this, that, the other. And now I'm just like, it's just another day, dude.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I don't want to put too much stress on like what I want from comedy, because I don't want to wind
There's
up
too much uncertainty there too.
Yeah, and I don't want to wind up like hating comedy, for not giving me the things that I thought I was gonna get, within 6 months, a year, and all that stuff. I just want to be better at comedy. That's my only goal right now. I don't have anything like as far as, I mean, I want to get booked more, but I want people to book me because they know I'm funny, and all I could do is like just be funnier,
Yeah.
Because I don't want to set myself up for disappointment. Like if I set so many comedy goals and I don't reach them, then maybe I'm doing something wrong, or it'll be more clear, and the proof will be there on writing in paper that like, well, you're not living up to your end of the deal. You set up all these goals, and none of them are getting checked off. What are you fucking doing?
You don't think that having that that goal though makes it tangible instead of being like, I want to get better, and you just have this magnet with no time?
There's a safety part of it, and you're protecting yourself by saying, I just want to be better. Because what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so vague.
I know.
It's so vague, but at the same time, you're just like, well, it's still a goal. I just want to get better. Well, better than what? Better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I have a real hard time putting too much pressure on myself, because I'll automatically feel that I've failed myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you just never know. But I don't regret, because there was, I wish I started sooner. I wish I started, in my early 20s. I mean, I don't think I would have been the same way on stage, or even had the same drive if I was doing comedy before. Because I did music and because I did all that stuff, it sort of helps me. It carries over as far as like the work ethic and what I want out of it, and the little things matter more to me because I know about all that stuff from being in bands and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's nice, man. And there's a lot of similarities, right? Like, you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's performing. It's a performing art, quote unquote art. You got to rehearse with bands. You got to go to open mics for comedy. You want to do as many shows, and you want to.
Do you
get
wish
booked.
there was a rehearsal for open mics where it's like you don't have to do the dog shit stuff? You can just like, been like.
No, it's the same. That's rehearsing.
Okay.
Going to open mics, trying out new jokes in front of drunk people that don't want to listen. That's rehearsing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of the process, and that's why like I don't understand people that are so quick to stop doing open mics. They just don't.
It's painful for a lot of people, right? Like, and it was something that I had.
It's supposed to be painful.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be painful. It's supposed to make you want to work harder. It's supposed to make you like write better. Why didn't this work? Did I use too many words? Am I using the wrong words? How else are you going to figure that out in front of people that don't give a shit?
Yeah.
Like, if you can make people that don't give a shit listen for a second, laugh at one thing, then you got something.
Yeah.
Because when people were at comedy shows, and they're sitting there for comedy, and they're just like, they get it, you're like, and they fucking react positively. You're like, yeah, that drunk dude helped me out with that.
I can't believe you have that realization. I'm usually just like, man, I wish I had you guys instead of that drunk dude.
Yeah.
No, that's a good way to think about it, dude.
But I don't know, man. I mean, some days it sucks that like I'm the oldest of the group, as far as like the young comics, the new comics. I guess that's the best way to put it. The newer comics. Mm-hmm. It does suck sometimes, and before it used to be embarrassing to go to open mics and hang out with a bunch of like 20-year-olds and stuff.
Yeah.
But then you see people that have been in it for 10 years and they're garbage. And you're just like,
oh, yeah.
Well, as long as I'm not that guy. Like,
yeah.
I'll use that person as my roadmap. As long as I'm not that guy.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Wait, We used to do. Yeah, I know a lot of people that are 10 years in that I'm like, man, how did I pass you?
Yeah.
Like how? Where? Like physically? How? The time and the effort.
Yeah.
And then you see it and you're like, oh, you've been doing that same joke that don't work for 5 years?
Yeah. But I think on the pod that I did with George Anthony, he was like, some people just want to go and hang out. Some people just want to go and have a good time. Who am I to say, like, don't do that? You know, just because we're working on different things, just because, like, I'm working on getting better, getting booked, maybe recording, and that person just wants to get out of the house.
They're hanging out with
And
friends and
hanging
jamming.
out and just, you know, go on stage and get their kicks off of that, you know. Just because we're working on two different things doesn't mean that he's wasting his time or that I'm wasting my time or that they are wasting time. You know, just because we're all sort of kind of doing the same thing doesn't mean that we're all doing the same thing.
Damn, man.
You know what I mean?
Like, I never really thought about it. Like, that it's like I play pickup basketball, but I'm not trying to make the NBA.
Yeah.
Well, I got a couple people that I got to tell them they don't suck anymore.
Yeah. You should quit playing basketball in the park.
What? You're never gonna fucking make
You're
it.
never
dude.
gonna make it, dude. They're like, I just wanted to get out of the house.
You just started picking this up. You're 35.
Yeah, loser. You're a fucking loser. What's something you worry about?
I mean, to me, honestly, they're blended subjects.
Mhm.
Is the fear of the unknown, exactly that. Like, I just moved to Austin.
Mm-hmm.
What's my social experience going to be? Am I going to be liked?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of just, you know, the pure anxiety of meeting people, getting on stage, reclimbing. It's like climbing a ladder you can't see the top of,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, yeah, I would say in the same thing of like kind of what I fear, I worry about the unknown of kind of what I'm on, right? Like maybe readdress the goals. Like my goal, right, is to get to the NBA. I want to be a working comic. I want this to be a portion of my life that I want to be on for the long term, right? I don't know, right? Like is that the end, or is it like you're good but you're not a national headliner, or you're like, my goal is not to be Chappelle, my goal is to be Mark Norman, right? You know, where it's like, okay, this can be an income, this can be a revenue, this can be a lifestyle. That's what I worry about, right? I worry about how long am I climbing a ladder for that you can't see the end of.
But isn't it?
But
it's a constant climb.
It is a constant climb, and like those guys are still climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
And actually, that's you made me feel. I'm sure there's a big part of this pod, right? You made me feel really good when you're like, not everyone's there doing it the same thing, and it's okay to readjust. And like I still have the same goal when I start. When I started first day of comedy, I got a laugh on stage, and I was like, I can do this in my life long term. I could be a headliner, right? It took me another month to get a laugh as good as that first month.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, right, like I've been on the same like kind of path, that same goal. Yeah. So it's kind of the unknown. I have an end destination and a middle that I have zero clue what I'm doing, because there's no path for this. You just kind of go until eventually you pop, and people pop on podcasts, they pop on stage, they pop in TV, right? Like, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. Also, big thing that worries me is there anything about me that's special enough to even have a pop, right? Do I have that pop potential? So that unknown element is in my head more than I care to admit. And that's something I don't like talking about either.
Yeah. That was a big thing that you just said. Like, is there something in me that is worth popping, or how'd you say it?
Yeah, pop out cherry. Pat, can you pop me? But yeah, it's like what is my draw?
I mean, like,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And it doesn't. I don't even want you to answer.
No, that's a tough question because, I mean, what is anybody's draw?
Yeah.
I mean, just being funny.
I think it's kind of like lizard natural. Like, I don't know why, but that guy's got it. Like, his vibe attracts my tribe, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm going.
That's
to.
a lot of pressure you're putting on yourself as far as like, do I have something? Like, is there a pop to me or whatever? Like,
Yeah.
Is there something about me that people that will sell tickets?
Yeah, because I think of, and it is a lot of pressure, but it's something that I almost think about. Like, if someone is going to work with me, they're probably thinking that too. Does this guy have potential to bring people here? Right.
When you think about all this stuff, what else do you want to do besides perform comedy? Like, what is your end goal? Do you want to do TV? Do you want to do writing, or do you want to just be a performer, or whatever will be will be?
What I want is the last one. I want the mindset of, hey, I'm on a catapult that hasn't been launched yet. Where I land is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But like, in my head, like, yeah, I want to do podcasts. I want to do stand up. Writing is great. I barely could write for myself, so probably, I know myself. I'm not a natural writer. But also, I want to be happy outside of stand up, like in the event that like that's the hardest thing is like how do you balance a life of stand up with work, with relationships. We just got a cat, god damn it. Which is awesome, but it's just you have a bandwidth, right? Like, I don't want to be 1000% obsessed with what I do, that I am not a person that is, what is Justin? Oh, he's a comedian. And they're like, oh yeah, like what else does he do? Does he play golf? He play basketball? Like, does he got a girlfriend? Like, I want that shit to be like holistic, where it's like, oh, he's a full person, and that is one big strain of his life.
Yeah. Finding the balance is so tough. Yeah, especially with relationships, with people that have kids, work.
It's like that work-life balance. Some people struggle with like, I have a job and a family.
Yeah, we
have two.
Yeah,
we have an income maker, and then we have our passion project, and then we have like, so it's like we've divided our lives into thirds.
Yeah,
which realistically, it's kind of half, because we can't get away from making money right now.
I need to pay bills somehow.
We got to pay bills. So the people that are taking it, like, they're making big sacrifices. So it's like, this stuff eats me alive. So,
but it's fun. The rush is fun.
The rush is fun.
Is this going to turn into something? Like, for me, I love podcasting and I love stage time. I don't see I'm not going to be in TV or movies, and I don't want to be an actor. I don't want to be in front of the camera like that.
I can see you as an extra in The Longest Yard.
I can be an extra as fuck. I'm extra as fuck, dude.
Dog, put me in the back.
Like, yeah, I could extra.
Yeah.
Extra the shit.
I could see you as like cartel number 5.
Yeah. Man with burger.
Hey, Hector, get the chain. You bring the chain, and you're just like,
yeah. But no, just podcast and stage time. That's all I'm focused on right now.
Yeah.
It's easy. Like, I can't, like, people that want so much more. It's just like, man, you're setting yourself up for a lot of heartache.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from your own brain that's running, though.
Yeah,
like that's actually why I stopped smoking, was because I get caught in these wormholes that I'm like, I'm literally cannibalizing my own like confidence, right? So that was big, because I was like, oh man, dude, to me, I have a hard time finding balance of being surface level and deep. right? Like sometimes I'm scared to dig because I'm just like, oh man.
I was just thinking about that. Are you afraid to get deep?
Well, I mean, you've known me for what, 4 years or
Yeah.
so? Like, I'm a pretty surface level guy in conversation, right?
Yeah.
You've asked me one question, and I was like, I'm scared of sharks. I'm being my brother. Right? So,
The brother thing was pretty deep.
yeah. So it's like,
It is pretty deep. And
so-
like, it makes a lot of sense.
yeah, I'm also, am I scared to dig? Not in front of people I trust. You
Yeah.
know? Which is a cool podcast, man. I like the idea of it, and like you're natural at making people comfortable, I feel.
Oh wow, thank you. I want to normalize. I used to be ashamed about going to therapy, and now I talk about it all the time. I want to normalize people, seeking out therapy, and I want to normalize people checking in with each other. We don't have to put up a front all the time. It sucks. We could be real with our feelings, and we could feel stuff, and we could also like laugh about it too.
Sure.
I mean, that's the whole thing behind Glass Clown. I mean, we're fragile, but we're making fun of shit.
Yeah.
Or at least we try to. We try to make it funny.
I'm glad you said that because I had no clue why it was named that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'm not the guy that's gonna ask like, what does that mean?
Well, because when you tell people that you do comedy, you're like, oh, were you the Class Clown?
Yeah, and I was too. So
Right.
yeah.
And so I just took the Class Clown thing and I put the Glass Clown.
So
because
that's
glass is fragile and all
that's
that
what
stuff.
I got the reference of Class Clown, did not get like the fragile aspect.
Yeah.
Like like very easy to break.
We're all fragile, dog.
Big frag.
We're all fragile.
Doug, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so fragile.
Don't break me. Just find me funny.
That's what I'm scared. Like I'm scared of like a good heckler, like a someone being loud.
Yeah.
I can deal with, right? Like
Yeah.
we've been doing it enough that someone's loud or they're talking
Yeah.
or they make comments like you can deal with it. I'm scared of a good heckler. They're
Yeah.
like, "Get
You are your brother.
I'm like, okay, you win.
Cool, man. How you feeling?
I feel good, man.
Nice.
I do. I really like that you talked more. I was nervous in a weird way that it was gonna be like an interrogation because I'm just like,
Nah, that's a big fear of mine that people feel interrogated. Like, what is where is your hiding your anxiety?
yeah. That and the first thing I think I asked was like, hey, what's the interest? And I'm like, why did I really just expose that I have like a distrust of people knowing stuff?
Yeah.
But yeah, like that. I like that, man. It was very comfortable, very open.
Cool, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for doing this. Replugs, everything, shout outs, anything that you got going on. Go ahead and give it.
Yeah, Justin Bires, just my name as is. Twitter, Justin O Bires, and then the Loose Handles podcast, sports comedy podcast. It's gonna be fucking awesome. One thing aspect of my life that is big. It's kind of hard to talk about in comedy because it's kind of a niche subject to some degree. Is sports. I mean, that's been like a foundational rock of like interest and kind of like bringing joy to my life.
Yeah.
So kind of combining my two loves into like a cocktail. That's been like something that I'm almost more excited to do that than stand up or like do feature sets. Like,
Yeah.
That's been like, oh man. Also, just being able to talk out more stuff is always fun. We love to talk.
No, it's gonna be good. I think it's a good thing. It doesn't have to be a comedy thing. I mean, if you have other interests, fucking pot about that.
Yeah.
Stoked for that, dude. That's gonna be good. Thanks for doing this, man.
Okay.
We're gonna run another thing, but all right, later.